before I get into introducing Gavin, I just wanted to share a small story to start our call today. So a couple of days back, I was thinking about my show about Finding the Voices, which all of you are aware of. And because I have many projects, I have the gratitude project going on, and then I have the high achiever project going on. But truly, I really wanted to create impact. And also, as I'm working through, some of my projects, I also saw that, for the gratitude project, what truly my intent was to identify, people in Manipur, nominated by the people, and have those people come to my show and then, amplify their voice. And eventually I want to write a book to cover them so that they can be the role models. But sometimes I do meet people who have been nominated, but I have found resistance and maybe a bit of rejection, that, they don't want to come to my show. And then I question myself on, okay, what am I doing? Like, how do I best impact? So that's when I was a little bit unclear on where should I put my energy, right? So I meditated on it and I put it out on the universe. Like, hey, this is what I need my mental clarity on. And Gavin came, and I had no idea Gavin has anything to do, to play on this part. And me and Gavin, we were planning, for the People of the World show. And I've seen Gavin's work. And in today's call, I really wanted all of you to feel that experience, because when you see something and hear something and read something, it's very different when you experience something, right? So when I called Gavin and spoke, and I knew about his work, I didn't really know what impact, and I didn't know, I went with a very open mind. I didn't know where it was going to lead me. So I didn't even know that I was going to have that, intent when Gavin asked me, and as many of you, you have seen, and I have shared it without any edit. What I have shared is what it is. I have not even taken out like one blank space. So I went, I invited Gavin and I said, hey, let's talk about what you do, and, let me have that experience. And he was very kind enough to give me that experience. And when I went to that, and when he asked me, like, what do you want to focus on, right? I didn't even know that I was going to say that. And that came in my mind. And as you have seen, right, like in the initial, it was quite weird for me, right? It was like, I'm like, what am I doing, right? Gavin is like telling me to do sounds and, So in any case, I found the experience so powerful, and I felt I got so much of clarity on what I am meant to do and where my focus should be. So with that, I want everybody, to join me in welcoming Gavin. You can unmute yourself for a minute, for a bit, and then help, join me in clapping to show the honor of the space, what he has given, and the powerful, powerful, powerful connection. Big hands, everybody join me. With that, I welcome Gavin Masumiya to our show, to our space. We are all here to be the best version, and what you taught, what you have shown, is so important, because sometimes when we think about being high achiever, when we think about goals, we sometimes don't know, or we get a little confused about where do we want to go, what is really like our calling, and what is the purpose. And so when I had that experience, and if I did not have the experience, Gavin, just watching your show, I would not have got that. So I'm so happy to, share Gavin with you in today's class. And with that, Gavin, I know that I know a little bit about you, but we want to know more about you. So if you can, start with your introduction, share a little bit about your childhood and growing up, and eventually, we want to come to understand why you do what you do.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first off, I have everybody in the wide view so I can see everyone here. And I just love to see that there's kids here, and then there's also adults. And it just touches my heart because what I found is the work that I do, I've done it with children and as also with people past 60. And it's been powerful across all age groups. Going back into my childhood, for all of you like Vivian and Donna B and all of you, I grew up and I was a very shy little boy. I used to have this little chili bowl cut and I had braces. I looked kind of nerdy and I started a year late then. I started a year late. So I was older than everybody in my class. And so I woke up, I went to school thinking that I wasn't as smart as the other kids because I was older. And so every time that my birthday rolled around, I didn't look forward to my birthday because when they found out that I was 12 years old and everybody else was 11, I thought that something was wrong with me. And so I was like the quietest kid in school. And it's really interesting. I remember in 5th grade, by the end, before you culminate to go to 6th grade, we did a play. So it was based on a book called Lucy Whipple. It was about this girl and their family that lived somewhere out in the countryside. And in the play, the students had different roles that you could be. And there was one role that I really wanted to be. And it was a man who owned the general store. He would sell like toilet paper, like food. Like it was a very important staple inside of the community because everybody would go there to buy all of the things that they needed. And he had a really big role in the play. But I was scared. I didn't think that I could do it. And so, you know what role I ended up being? I ended up being stage crew. The one that didn't have any lines, the ones that just like moved the scenes and moved the tables around. And I was just dressed in all black. And I was kind of the invisible person that moved the stuff. But during the play, like in the evening time, we all had the script because they had to know when I was going to move the table. I remember the lines. I would look at the lines of Mr. Scatter, his name was. That was the role I wanted to be. And I would memorize them. And I was 12 years old. I'm 33 years old right now. And I wanted that role so bad that I would memorize his lines. And one of his lines it was a rhyme, which lends itself to actually Flowmasters years later. But the rhyme it was his motto for the general store that he ran. And this was like his jingle. It went, beans and bacon, fish in cans, barrels of flour, sacks of yams, raisins, rice, salt, pork, and such, woods and cotton, soft to touch, tubs and buckets, pots and pans, gulligs from the fairer lands, kegs and whiskey, candy treats, picks and shovels, pickled beets. We take credit, coins, and dust. Come to Scatters, a store to trust. That was 21 years ago. And I don't know why I still remember it, but that's how much I wanted the role. That's how much I wanted to be heard. And it wasn't until, certain situations happened. Like I remember in 9th grade when I was in high school, I was in art class and I was still really shy back then, but I sat next to this girl, her name was Ariana, and she played on the soccer team. And she kind of was annoying because she just would not stop talking to me, but she would constantly ask me questions. She would be like, what is it like to grow up Japanese, right? What kind of food do you eat? And it wasn't romantic. It was just like she was sincerely curious about me. And that started to open me up more. And so the more that I look back, the more that I realized that there was little teachers in my life like Ariana, where I tried to reach out to her to thank her now because I look back to realize how much of a difference she made in my life, and I can't reach her. So she'll never really know the impact she's made. But there are little teachers that come into our lives. And now, like years later, I've battled a lot of different things, different family deaths, friends who've died in car accidents. When I went to college, that was probably one of the darkest times of my life. That was when I really got into drugs, and I did so many different kinds of drugs. There was one drug particularly that I got really addicted to, and I would snort it, and there would be days on ends that I just don't remember, and you know, I would get pulled over. Thankfully, you know, I'm here, I'm safe. Right. That was a really dark time, and I was running away from different things in my life. I was running away from not trying to deal with not knowing what I wanted to do with my life after college, because it was 2009. That was when I was in my third year at a university. I was in a romantic relationship, and I had no business being there. I wasn't happy. I just went into it, and so I didn't want to have to deal with it, so I ended up continuing to do drugs, and that was the time where I started getting suicidal thoughts. And so that was a really difficult time. And I remember I was over here in Los Angeles. There's a baseball team called the Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Do any of you heard of them before? Yes. Yeah. So I went to a Dodger game, and I was with 3 of my other friends. And it was at the time I was at my lowest point. I was already having those suicidal thoughts. And I did my last line. You know, I snorted that last line of the drug, and then I went to the Dodger game. It was the perfect seats too. We were in between home base and first base. And I was doing those drugs every single day. So when you stop doing drugs after doing it for a while, what happens is that you start to get different effects. There are different side effects. They call it withdrawals. And so like I couldn't stop shaking my body, and I couldn't focus. So I pulled out my phone, and the whole time, all 3 hours, I was messaging people trying to get more drugs. And then there was a moment at the Dodger game where a thought came to me, like a voice that just said, Gavin, what are you doing? Why are you still in that relationship? And why are you hurting your body? You haven't exercised in 3 months. You're not eating well. You're just doing these drugs, running away, when it's okay that you don't know what you want to do, and you know that you have to leave this relationship. And so after that, a couple of days after, I made a promise that I wasn't going to do those drugs no more. I ended up going to my ex-girlfriend's place the day before our 1-year anniversary, because I couldn't stand celebrating a 1 year with her, knowing that I didn't want to be with her. And I just let her know, and it was ugly. It was really messy. But then I ended up going back home that weekend to visit my parents, and my dad introduced me to a book. And some of you might know, but the book is called The Power of Now.
Yeah. Love
Awesome.
that. Yes. Awesome.
It's by the author. His name is Eckhart Tolle. And for some reason, my dad has recommended that book to me before, but I would say, no, I don't need it. You know, I have enough books to read in college. Don't give me another book that I have to read on top of all of my psychology books. But based on where I was, the drug withdrawals that I was having, and feeling, when you leave a relationship too, it can feel good knowing that, hey, I know I wasn't supposed to be here, but there's also a bittersweetness because I spent a year with her. And so there was this bittersweetness, missing the companionship. Even though you know things are right, it can still feel like you miss what you needed to let go of. I said, yes, I'll read the book. And so I would remember I would be sitting during spring break, reading the book, and then it would just clicked. The Power of Now was all about remembering that when we think too much about the future and we dwell in it, we have anxiety. And when we live too much in the past and we dwell in that, we can experience a lot of guilt. But when we're present in the moment right here, anxiety and guilt are not there. And what you have is just here right now. And that's a very common thing that people say now. But for me, back then, 11 years ago, that was a whole new idea for me. And it was in that book too that he shared a little practice around meditation, which is just sitting and taking breaths. And that was the moment that I started meditating. And I believe that it was through that book that many magical things have happened. I developed a voracious love for reading books. And it gave me this confidence that I can learn anything that I want. That if I wanted to learn how to become a better public speaker, I can read about it and practice what I learned. Just like I did with The Power of Now in the book, reading words about how to meditate and incorporating into my life. So when I was taking all these psychology courses, I was also reading a lot up on Deepak Chopra, on A New Earth, the other book by Eckhart Tolle, and I started learning in conjunction with what I was required to read. And that was very empowering. The meditation, I believe, kept me off of Xanax. That was the drug that I was addicted to that almost took my life various times. And it also allowed me to traverse through various deaths that took place. One being my really good friend who died in a car accident. And it was really abrupt. It was really hard. And the meditation practice that I learned during that time helped me to be a rock for the people around me when I was hurting myself. And here I am now, years later. I wanted to become a psychologist. So that's what I studied psychology before. But then my friend told me, also, if anybody has questions, feel free to chime in. And I would love for this to be interactive. But when I got out of school, I didn't want to go quick into getting they call it a PsyD, a psychology degree. I didn't want to go. That would require taking out a big loan. And I wasn't ready for that. So I got into social services and I worked with children between 4 to 17 years old. And they have a certain type of condition in their brain. They call it over here autism. And I ended up working in that field for 8 years. And I ended up being a trainer. It was really fulfilling work, especially training new employees. But it wasn't really where my heart was at. And so after that, I ended up going to Japan because I wanted to live outside the country, learn a little bit about my heritage while also traveling. And I thought I was going to be a teacher. So the interesting thing for all of you too, and especially for the children, that when you're starting to think about what do I want to do, right? What do I really want to do when I grow up? I never really thought about that as a kid. And so even when I got into college, my whole life was spent being a student. I was reading books and I was taking tests, but I didn't really have a lot of experience. And so it's hard to really know what you want to do when all you're doing is in school in a way. And so when I got out, the easiest thing that I did is I took my dad's route. That was social services. That was what my dad did. He was a social worker for 37 years. And then when I found out that I didn't want to do that, the only thing left was I followed what my mom did, and she was a teacher. So I went to Japan and I taught English. And then I realized for that, it's like, oh, I don't like middle school kids. They're brats. They're hard. And I didn't have a passion for that. But what I will say is that when we do things and we ended up not liking things about it, it's really valuable. Because during social services, what I learned is I love working with people one-on-one. It also helped me to develop skills on how do I train people as a mentor and also as a coach, right? A mentor is like, here, I'm going to show you because I know how to work with these kids very well. So I'm going to show you what I do. But it's also a coach in trying to understand and asking questions on what do you really care about? Why did you get into this job? Just because you graduated from college and you wanted to get a job that relates to your degree, your bachelor's degree, or do you really like kids? And so just through that, I developed all of these skills that you just don't know. And it was that mixture of both that I came across the field of coaching. And so that with all of that, and then later on, I ended up coaching, and then I met up with some friends because I found out that some of my friends inside of this public speaking organization, I love public speaking. I think it's a great skill that is worthy of everyone learning, even as scary as it is. So I've been involved in this organization called Toastmasters. It's an international organization that's also a leadership development organization. And they'll train you on how to give presentations, different ways on how do you facilitate and lead a group of people, that I thought was really powerful. And it was extra appealing to me, especially because I was very shy growing up, right? So are any of you consider yourself shy? A little bit,
yeah.
like maybe afraid that. Afraid to,
Many of us, yeah, we have that, and I think I specifically wanted you to cover on, some of the tips on how you overcame that, as a kid. And look at you, right? Like bursting out with confidence now, and so I think that would be really inspiring for our class as well as our listener who would be listening to our replays.
I love that. Yeah, thank you. I'll definitely use that as a specific thing. And so that's one of the greatest compliments that I get now, is that people, when I talk about my past, people are like, I can't imagine that. And I see that as a great compliment, because I always remember being a kid in 5th grade, and I would look at, his name was Peter Evenson. He was the most popular kid in school. All of the girls, everybody liked him. He wasn't really that nice, actually, but everybody liked him, and he was Mr. Scattered. And so when I was in the back on the left side looking at during the play, with all the parents, everybody that was in the stands and the audience, I wanted to be him. And I just didn't have the courage to do so. And I never forget that. I never forget that. And so, what I'm up to now is there's something that I do called Flowmasters, and it is a blend of 3 of my greatest passions. One being coaching, asking questions, unraveling people's truth, not telling them what to do, holding a space to ask sometimes very simple questions, like I asked Monica, holding a space for someone to really look in and think about it. Simple questions like, what do you really care about? What are you afraid of? What do you not want people to know? Just simple things, and it unravels. That's one. Another one is public speaking. In Flowmasters too, it's usually, sometimes it's with one person and sometimes it's with a group of people, and they're actually quite different. As far as with a group of people, I have to think about all the different people that are there and try to make it something that everyone can get value from, even if they come from different backgrounds, different ages, like right now. So there's a little more awareness that's required versus a one person. And then the third one is freestyle. Freestyle is basically something that I'm doing right now. I don't really know. I kind of know what I'm going to say, but I'm also just trusting myself that whatever's coming out of my mouth right now is supposed to happen. And that involves a great sense of trust. And so what I found out is Flowmasters, sometimes people rap inside of it. And some of you may not like rapping or this and that. And that's totally okay, because that's not Flowmasters. Flowmasters is all about honestly expressing yourself. And I believe, and what I found across people from 8 years old I've done it with to 65 years old, is that if I can, or if we can hold a space for people to feel completely safe, to open their mouths and share their feelings, then, and there's other people there, and we can hold that space to say, no matter what you say, you're enough. No matter what you say, I don't know about you, I don't know you that much, but I want you to know that you're beautiful. And if I hold that without having to say that, but I hold that in my heart as I'm listening to people, it inspires the other people around to be on board with that. And it makes a difference in the other people's lives. And just people sharing about, there's somebody who shared about their father recently dying during COVID-19, and how it was in this workshop that I was leading. And he was talking about how sad he is. That was his father. That was the person he looked up to. And he got it, and he was at that age, 70 older, and he just went down, and they couldn't stop it. And so he was heartbroken on the call, and he didn't try to make it better. He just said, I feel terrible and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
I really love the power of what you are offering, because it can apply to any one of us in expressing what we are feeling, and most importantly, to many of us, getting it out of our system and getting that clarity without anybody doing it. So I love that. And I know that, for all of you who are here today, for the last 20 minutes, let's have the interactive session. So do think about your questions and, what you want to ask Gavin, while we are exploring about his work. So another thing, Gavin, I wanted to ask you, which I was touched when you spoke, was you said, when you started meditating, you meditated with your mother. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So 1 year ago, my mom went into the hospital because she has a heart device in her heart that if it shuts down because she has a heart problem, then it'll help to like pump it up. It's called a heart defibrillator, and it got infected. And during that time, we were afraid for her life because the surgery got very life-threatening. And I see how she goes around the world, like she maneuvers, she cares so much. And maybe some of you, are any mothers here?
Yeah.
Okay. What I see from my experience with my mom and moms that I know, like your hearts are so big at you that you like care about everyone almost more than yourself. So that's her. And so she'll like go over and above, and she would have a lot of anxiety because she cares so much about other people. And I'm like, that can't be good for her heart. So I ended up talking to her, sharing her about meditation. She thought that it was crazy. She didn't want anything to do with it. She didn't have enough time for it. But slowly I just started sharing with her, we could just start off with 30 seconds. And we started just meditating over the phone. I call her, and then I walk her through this type of meditation. It's called box breathing. And you're basically just breathing in a box, a 1-to-1 to 1-to-1 ratio. So let's just say 4 seconds, where you breathe in through your stomach, you hold it for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out of your nose. So it's all going through your nose, and then you hold it, and then you repeat it. And what that does for everyone, just from a more science place, it activates a part of our nervous system. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's the part that happens when you lower your heart rate. And so when our heart rate gets lowered, that's when we start to experience the sense of relaxation. And breathing in and out of our nose helps to activate that parasympathetic nervous system much faster than breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. And so I've been teaching her that. It's actually to provide a little more background too. Box breathing is something that they teach in the Navy SEALs, and also a lot of first responders. Like people in police or like firefighters people, there are certain departments that use that because it is a very fast way to calm down, especially in those situations where people's lives are at stake. And so
awesome. So it can be used like, I know that many of us in our class, we talk about, okay, what do we do, when we have anxiety or, panic situations. So you could use this, during those instance.
Yes, absolutely. I do it when I'm waiting in line at the grocery store. You can do it whenever you want, or you can do it like sitting down with your eyes closed. It really helps. So if ever you're in class, or if ever any of you feel like anxious or you get scared, what usually happens is we start breathing from our chest, and then we start breathing really shallow. And when we start doing that, we start to develop what we call anxiety, or feeling nervous, or feeling afraid. So one thing that's really powerful is instead of when we get all in our head and we start to think about all these thoughts, one of the fastest ways to start to relax is we pay attention to our body. And one way that we do it is a gift that we were given from the moment we were born is breathing. But the interesting thing, everyone, is that we're not taught really how to breathe. Yeah, we're taught our ABCs, right? We're taught how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 plus 2 equals 4, 8 divided by 4 is 2. We're not really taught, hey, if you breathe from your stomach, when you're breathing in, your stomach pulls out like a balloon. And then as you breathe out, your stomach goes back in. It helps to provide more oxygen into our blood. And then it allows us to relax more. And we get out of they call it a fight or flight response. That's when, like, back when we were a caveman a long time ago, and we were getting run down or chased by a saber-toothed tiger or a predator, it was really helpful so that we can run really fast and hide and protect ourselves. But what happens a lot now is that our lives aren't really threatened a lot of the time. And so it's an evolutionary part. But then sometimes we're afraid when we really will be okay. And so our breath can remind us of it. Yes.
Absolutely. So can we take a moment for all of us to, practice that together? If you can, help us with that dream. Yeah,
Yes.
let's do a box.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I'll show us little the beginning part of how I do it with my mom, and just to let you
Okay.
know. And also, so okay, this is perfect. Okay, I would love to do this. All right. So depending on how you're sitting, if you're sitting on your seat, are everyone's feet touching the ground? Anybody sitting cross-legged? Okay, so if anyone's cross-legged or your feet are on the ground, either way is perfect. So just like for you to sit down and just feel your bottom that's connected to the surface. You can have your hands on your lap with your palms facing up. That allows to straighten your back and to stay more alert. You can roll your shoulders back and gently close your eyes. And together, we'll take 4 box breaths together. And let's just take it very nice and slow. As we slowly breathe in through our nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. And exhale through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. In. 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 3, 4. And exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Start to smile as you inhale. 2 more. 3, 4. Hold. And exhale. Hold. And 1 more as you smile, breathing in. Hold it. And any tension that you have, imagine you're releasing it now. Hold. With a soft smile. Now collect your breath in through your nose. And a nice soft sigh out. Just find your own breath, your own rhythm, nice and slow. As you smile with your back straight. And then you can just slowly start to wiggle your toes around. Slowly wiggle your hands around. Just getting back into your body. Blood circulating more. You can even roll your shoulders around. You can hold a lot of tension in the shoulders. This helps to relax the shoulders. A few more breaths. With a nice soft smile. And when you're ready, at your own pace, nice and slow. Good. You can slowly open up your eyes.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Gavin. I like that I have never heard, I think, any guided meditation talking about smile. Yeah. Right? So when you said that, I love it. It's really awesome.
It is, and it's also a universal expression that when people are happy, they'll get their crow's feet and they'll smile. So it connects people across cultures, across color, and across ages.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So we have a couple more minutes before our interaction. And this time, I just want you to explain a little bit about Flowmaster, the concept of flow, and why what you do in the beginning before you do the flow session is so important, because I felt that was where the power was.
Yes. So like I said a little bit about Flowmasters, about what it's not, right? People think that it's about rapping. It's not about rapping. It's not about rhythm. It's just about learning to express yourself honestly. One of the biggest things as a human being is this desire, almost this need to be heard, to be understood. And so a lot of my life I felt understood, and part of it because I wasn't expressing myself. I would think like, oh, I want to share it, but then I don't know how. And so Flowmasters is a place that I created to let anybody that comes there, to let them know that their voice matters and that I'm going to listen. And so if you saw in, with the one that I did with Monica, I was listening. I wanted to hear what she had to say, and then I asked different questions that went by it. And listening, if there's one skill for people, I would say that it's really powerful that I developed over the years, and that I'm continuing to, is learning to, when people are talking to us, to listen to them and to really think about like, how are they feeling? Even after saying it, maybe they won't say that they're feeling a certain way, but if we can think about how might they be feeling, what really matters to them, that's things that they're not always going to say. So that's called reading between the lines. I call it intuitive listening. So we're not really just listening to their words, but we're listening to how they might feel and really what's really important to them and what they're sharing. And so that's what Flowmasters, what is important is I want to train the people around me too, through my example, is holding a space so that the other participants really start listening to the person that's speaking. And so I take time, 15 minutes in the beginning, to really talk about that it's all about here. There's two different important pieces. One of the important pieces in Flowmasters is called rallying the cipher. And basically what that means, it's a fancy word, but it just means that we want to encourage each other. We want to create a space so that if the kids are there, if whoever's there, that let them know that it's okay. And if you're going to share something and you don't feel okay, that's okay. Like, it's okay that you don't feel good. It's okay that you don't feel okay. You don't have to pretend to put a smile on your face here. Just share it. And I call it a release valve. So, and I think that as for people and all the people that I've coached too, whether they're really successful or they're just like trying to figure out too, everyone needs a release valve. And release valve is a safe place where you can just let out your emotions. Because when we hold it in, that's when we let things build up, and then we end up yelling at people, or we end up like saying, you should have done this, you should have done that, because we've been holding it in. But if we have a place like Flowmasters, or a place like yoga, meditation, journaling, these are all release valves that we can do to let out our emotions, so we don't take it out on other people. And so that's what Flowmasters, it's a release valve for people that need to share things. And once we let it out, my friend says it really, really great. He's like, when you release your emotions and you let it out in a safe space, you receive, you get new ideas, you get new ways of appreciating things, but we need to release them and finding safe places for that to happen. So it's a very interesting thing. To release is also to receive. They're the same thing. The more that we can release in a safe way, the more we receive back. And so that's a part of Flowmasters too, is teaching people how to receive. And so there are two things. Part of it inside of Flowmasters is about learning to acknowledge people in the group. So there's usually a part at the end where I have people acknowledge, what did you hear? What can you appreciate about other people? So that's how do you learn to appreciate people? And then for the other side, they're both important, is for the person that's actually receiving a compliment. For some people, at least for me, it was really hard for me to receive a compliment. So I would usually change the subject, or I would say, oh, it's no big deal. And I try to make the thing smaller. But the thing about that is that somebody was actually taking the time to say something nice about me. And it's almost like getting a Christmas gift and someone giving it to you and you being like, I'm cool, no thank you. I don't need it, right? When it's like, what? They took the time to wrap it, they bought a gift for you, and they're giving it to you, and you're gonna say no? And so saying thank you, whenever you receive something nice, is actually receiving a gift and giving a gift back to them, because it's letting them know that you are receiving what they're giving you. And that's a really important thing. And so Flowmasters is about learning how to give. How do you give love? How do you give appreciation to people? And also, how do you receive love back? That's self-esteem. If you believe that you're worthy of someone saying something nice about you, that's what Flowmasters is really about. It's kind of a trick. It's a disguise, right? I say it's freestyle. It's like rap, but it's actually learning how to think good thoughts about ourselves. Learning how to believe in ourselves, disguised as this freestyle thing. And that's what's so powerful about it. That's why I think the kids like it, and also older people like it, you know, or more seasoned people like it. It because it just teaches people, how do you trust yourself more?
Yeah, it is awesome. I mean, I was like so impressed, like, you know, when I went through some of your video with the kids, and they're having fun.
Yes.
Right. The process, like, I mean, you know, I'm like you said, like even you were a nerd. So I grew up being a nerd. So, you know, music and dancing. But in our session, I saw, like, you know, when I saw the replay, I was like moving my body and swaying it, sing from my heart. And I know many of us here, we struggle with expression.
Yes.
Right? We struggle with expression. We keep it inside. And then one day, boom.
Yes.
Right? And then a big fight with whoever, and, you know, the release is not in a good way. So, yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's have some interaction. I know that everybody is on mute, and let's have some questions from any of you.
I would say I don't know your daughter. I'll just relate it to when I was a teenager. That was a very rebellious stage, and a lot of my friends who have kids who are teenagers, they're going through somewhat of a rebellious stage in their own way. So I don't know if meditation would actually work for them, because that could be another opportunity to be like, now you're trying to tell me what to do and how I should live my life, right? So there's that thing too. So, you know, there's just questions that come to mind for me, right? It's kind of like those two questions that I said inside of Flowmasters is, of course, their feelings are going to oscillate. They're going to go through a lot of different emotions. They are in their teenage years, so part of their hormones are changing, and they're going through a lot of differences in their body, the way that they're attracted to people outside, and insecurities, makeup, all of these different things, how society thinks about a woman, all of these different things they're probably thinking about. So in those moments, you know, sometimes this might be helpful in reflection, because if you say you have things with anger, then it might be hard when it happens to make a different decision. That's where reflection's powerful. So if you just even think back to maybe a last time when you had a little argument with her, you could even, or just a disagreement, let's say. You can think about one thing is like, how do you think she was feeling? Okay. So how do you think she was feeling, right? So this right now, it's not about you now, right? So how do you think she was feeling? So this is where you can take a breath, right? Yeah. So how do you think she was feeling in that time? And what does she really want? What, even more, maybe another question instead of, what is she really committed to? Is she committed to wanting to be accepted by other friends? You know, she wants to feel validated. Is that why? So if she's feeling upset because she's not feeling validated and heard, is that why? Because she's really committed to wanting to make decisions on her own, because she wants to learn to be, she thinks she's more of a grown-up. I'm just curious what those are, because if we get to that, we get more into the roots of it. And then it's not a story about like this back and forth. And that's hard. That's hard. So that's why in the reflection is going to be more. But those are just two things, is like, how is she really feeling? And also, what is she committed to? And also, what might she be going through in her life that might have her feel the way that she feel and behave the way that she does? So those are just three questions I think are just worthy. Anytime somebody gets triggered, which is like, you know, something happens and we're like, oh, and then we start to react, or we get angry, or we get sad. They're usually things that actually happened earlier on in life. Yeah. And so those are three questions that I found to be really valuable.
Thank you. Yeah.
Really.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can definitely use that myself. All right, so let's hear a question from the youth, high achievers.
Yes, I would love to. And it's okay if you feel shy. I'm exactly the same way. I probably wouldn't have shared anything, but just know that I can relate in my own way. Like I was the shy kid. So if you do have a question and you just want to share, just know that it's completely okay. Yes, so I've been doing this ever since quarantine started. I had to stop doing it in person because everybody, you know, we had to be safe. and I ended up starting it online. So it's kind of like how Monica's doing it right here, except people are coming from all around the world. And then I'm doing this with music, and I'm helping to create an experience for people to start sharing with music. So yes, there's definitely other people. Actually, we did one yesterday, and there was somebody from the United Kingdom who came. So we did it at 5:15 over here, but it was like 1 o'clock over there in the morning. Yeah, we get a lot of people in the United States that does it. But as long as somebody has a Wi-Fi, and they have headphones, then they can join.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe Gavin, you can add a little bit on how they can, search. Is that something I saw that you have it every Fridays? So can anybody come?
I do have it every Friday. That does tend to be a little more for adults, but I'll tell you what, Monica, like if anybody in the community is interested, what I can do is I can do a very special thing and just gift the community, and I'll just gift one. I'll just do one for the people that want to come out. And if people just want to come to watch it, you could. And if people want to come to participate, then I'll be happy to do it for your community, Monica.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think I would love to, have the kids have that experience, because I think it's really powerful. All right.
Yes, so you can definitely do some of the exercises on your own. I can actually share 2 exercises if you'd like that you can just do. I have different playlists on Spotify. You really could use any music that you want. I tend to use 2 different types of music because it's a lot slower, and it makes people not feel like they have to rap or rhyme. They can just talk to music. So that's the thing that I was doing with Monica. We did a little bit of the fun thing in the beginning, but then afterwards we just started talking to music. And so that's really beautiful, because you start with just talking how you usually talk, which you start talking authentically. This is honestly just how I talk. And when you start from honesty, then you can start to rhyme if you want to, but that's not the point. So I use ambiance music. So if you just go on YouTube and you just search ambiance music, they don't have any words. They're a lot slower. Or I do something called lo-fi hip hop. Lo-fi hip hop is slower. The bass is a lot slower, so you can just talk to it. And one of the practices that I did with Monica, I believe I did it with you, right? It's a metaphor game. And so if anybody has seen Forrest Gump before, there you are. So their favorite quote is, "Mama always said that life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get." Now what that is the metaphor. Now metaphors are really popular. They're like, movies can be based on metaphors. Arguably, the Bible is a bunch of metaphors. Metaphors are really powerful as a human. And what's really powerful about a metaphor is basically you say life is like and then you name something. Life is like a pen. And now you have to think about how life is like a pen. So life is like a pen. You can take a pen and you can start writing all of your ideas down. You can write down all the things that you like, and you can write about all the things that you don't like. You see, but when you're writing, it's not just about writing about the good times. It's also about writing about the hard times and the really good times, but also the really bad times. And the pen is beautiful because we get to write our own story. We can also write about how we want our life to be, even though times could be really hard right now. We have the ability to write and create with our pen, just like we can when we are in life. So life is like a pen. So basically that would be the practice, is life is like a soda can. And we have to go with it, and that does a few things. First, it involves a lot of creativity. You have to create something. And number 2, it's teaching us on how do we create meaning out of a pen. This is a pen. This doesn't have to mean anything, but I chose to make it mean something. And so what's very powerful about it for everyone, Donavi and all of you, Gayatri, Banit, is that a lot of the time, let's just say like mommy says no to you. Like we can make that mean something. We can make that mean, oh, I guess I'm not good enough, or I guess I'm stupid, or I guess I can't do that. And so we're making something no mean something. We're doing that all the time. If somebody says, Donaby, you did such a good job today, that could mean like, oh, I guess I am pretty cool, right? We're making it mean something, and we're doing that all the time. Even when we're dreaming, we could be in a dream, and inside of a dream, something happens, and we're making it mean something in our dream. We're doing it all the time. And so this exercise teaches us how can we actually not just react, but create meaning out of something that doesn't have to mean anything. Doesn't have to mean anything, but we're making a pen mean that this is life. I just made this up, but isn't that cool? Like every time my mom finds a penny on the ground, you know what she says? She says, "Oh, look, Auntie Patty." That was my auntie who died of cancer when I was a kid. That was her best friend. And she's like, "Auntie Patty is sending us a message." When I was a kid, I used to be like, "Mom, that's so silly. That's a penny. You found it on the ground. It probably dropped out of someone's pocket." But my mom, that was her sister. My mom is seeing this penny and she's making it mean that she is connected to her best friend, her sister, who's no longer here. And so who am I to say that that's like she shouldn't believe in that? I think that's beautiful now. Right? Yeah. So we have, so that's one exercise that we can do anytime. Life is like a noun. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so we have time to squeeze in one last question.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. Our families and people that are very close to us can be very triggering. They can create a lot of feelings, and it's not like we're just going to say, "I'm not going to talk to you no more," because it's our family, right? And so we can set boundaries around it. But like for me, I'm never going to stop talking to my brother and my sister, no matter what they do. I don't think so. So one thing that actually comes to mind is kind of going back to what sister was mentioning is one, it takes a while, it takes a little bit. So sometimes doing some type of centering like box breathing or something where we can get grounded with our heart rate. So this is not when we're around them. This is the work that we're going to do in silence. This is like homework. so you see, even as adults, we have homework. We still have homework that we could do. So I'll do that. I'll do something with our breathing, getting conscious of breathing, and then asking ourselves different questions like, for that person is, how is that person feeling, right? It goes back to it. What is that? What are they really committed to? And that the last one is what might be going on in their lives that has them feel and behave the way that they do. And what that does is it starts to build a sense of empathy, where we start to see them, and even deeper, we might start to have compassion, which is a little different, right? So empathy is like, oh, I feel what somebody else must be feeling like without judging it. Where compassion is two pieces. One's is I feel for the suffering that another person might be going through, and then it's deeper, and there's a desire to want to alleviate that suffering for that person. And so it's more focusing on what the suffering of that person might be. And if we keep going down, what might that person be? If we had the same experiences at the same time, with the way that they were raised by their parents, by the way they were yelled at, by the way they were bullied, by the insecurities that they have, all in that order, then really we would be the exact same person doing the exact same thing. And just from that place, this is not a solution. It's just a place to start from. Is it that when we can start from a place of being compassionate of the suffering of somebody else, then it would be less about trying to have them understand us and more about us wanting to understand them. And usually, in my experience, when I really take the time to understand where they're coming from and not trying to be understood, right? So I want to understand more than being understood, then they start to be more interested in me.
It's a difference, like, if you're shy, or whether to understand whether you are shy, or is it the lack of confidence?
Oh, okay. So so the way that I look at it is the two different words of shy and introverted, right? Because some people naturally, they like being around people. And so I thought that I was really introverted growing up. And really what it was is that it was more shy, where I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to share my thoughts. I wanted to share my Pokemon cards to friends and people, but then I was scared. I was thinking about what they might think of me, or that I might be stupid around them. So I was shy. So I see shy as something as I want to speak, I want to share more, but I'm scared. Where introverted is I don't really care to. I kind of just want to be inside and play video games. I don't need to talk to other people as much. Whereas people that are extroverted, they want to. So that's what I think. I think that shy is for me is as a place of I want to share more, but I'm just insecure, or I'm starting to doubt myself. And then introverted is just more of like it's a part of the personality. Does that make sense?
So yeah, I think Gavin, you addressed the shy and introvert.
And how to become more confident.
Yeah, so I think the real question is on the relation with the confidence part.
Yes.
Right, Donovan?
So I think that shy, to me, in my experience too, like, so I'm not a scientist here that studies shyness and confidence, but for me, in my personal experience and the people that I've worked with, there's a correlation between how I define shyness and a lack of confidence. So that the shyness is a lack of confidence in because if we want to share something, but we're afraid, and you're afraid, or you're starting to think, what will they think about me? Then it's not being confident enough to be like, yeah, I'm going to share it anyways. Or let me actually really think about it. Would this really help if I shared it over there, right? And so I would correlate shyness to lacking confidence.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Great. So I use the word, instead of overcome, I use transform. How do you transform confidence? Because for me, I still have times of being shy. Like actually it happens a lot. And so each time it happens, I have the ability to transform it in that moment, and it might return, right? So I haven't overcome it. It's just I have a moments in the day where I have an opportunity to transform it in that moment. And so one way is having these safe spaces, whether it's okay, I'm going to get together Vinny, sister, and Monica, and we're going to come together and we're going to share our deepest thoughts. And then so there's a container there. You trust the people already there, where you have a support group that you can share about the things that you're going through, the things that you're scared about. And then you can even all take turns where each person takes a turn being the leader. So that has to, that we develop leadership skills. How do you hold space? So that would be one of the easiest ones, because then you don't have to just go out into the world. You can do it in a safe space first. And then maybe from there, you all can take on different challenges. All right, today, this week, I'm going to share to my boss one thing that I think that they can improve. And then you have an accountability inside of this little safe support group. So that would be one idea that can be helpful. You want to start in a place that's safe, as you can trust. Yeah,
definitely. Love that. Having the community and the safe space, and the importance of having, the non-judgmental space.
Yeah. If you have any questions at all, even if they're little, if you want to know my favorite color, I'll tell you, you can ask anything. Yeah. I think I thought about that so many times as a kid, and even like now, right? And so just know that a lot of people think that. That's the reason why a lot of people don't share what they want, because they're afraid that they think that it's going to be stupid. And so that's just one thing. Just know that I can relate to that. Most of my friends I've talked to can relate to that. So so you're not alone there, okay? So that's the first thing. And the second one too is what you can do too is, even if you think it is a stupid question, you can even open it up with that. If you open it up to the teacher, you're just like, this might be a stupid question, and then ask the question. And what you might find is that the teacher might say that it's not a stupid question, But if you're really afraid, you can just even say that in the beginning. This might be a stupid question, and ask the question. A lot of people feel that way, okay? So don't worry. Yeah. So that's definitely there. So there's a couple things that come to mind for me. First one is that really great that you're thinking on how can you actually generalize it, and how can you use it in everyday life, right? Part of me, if I don't remember what's happening, my brain is kind of foggy. Okay, that was just an example, but I'm using a metaphor. Like my brain's kind of foggy, right? And so you can just do that in everyday situations, because metaphors help to make things easier to understand. And it also does something that we're good at. Like we all watch movies, right? Do you all like movies? Maybe different kinds of movies, right? But we can actually look with our eyes and we're seeing something. But when we use metaphors, we're actually allowing people, we're painting pictures in people's minds, and that makes it a lot more memorable. And so, yeah, if you can find ways to use metaphors on like, I'm bumping up against the wall right now. Instead of saying times are hard right now, I'm bumping up against the wall and I feel like I'm sinking into quicksand. I don't know how to get out. Like, people can understand it in their own ways versus I'm scared and I'm stuck, right? So yes, find any way that you can to use metaphors. It helps people to paint a movie in their minds. So like, let's paint movies. Let's paint movies in people's minds. And that also allows us to be more creative. So that's the first thing. Another thing that I wanted to share is that, you know, people might think we're annoying. My question is, have people said that? And, or is that something that you're just imagining and you're creating that movie in your own mind?
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay.
That's beautiful. Yeah. We have to ask, like, did the person say it or did we make it up?
Did we just make it up in our own minds? Because our brains are so clever. It's very clever because doing that, it might take more effort. And our brain, what our brain is designed for, our brain is designed to use as little energy as possible. So it wants to find a shortcut. It wants to find the easiest way. So if the easiest way is talking ourselves out of doing something that might be scary, that uses less energy. And that's what the brain wants, right? But of course, we want more things. We want to be able to grow and do different things. And so sometimes we're going against what the brain wants. And that's what makes it hard. So just know that the brain's always looking for shortcuts because it wants to conserve its energy. So sometimes to raise our hand, to go up to and ask a question is going against what the brain is trying to get us to do. Okay?
That's beautiful. Oh, wow. Thank you, everyone, for the lovely questions.
Thank you.
And, you know, I want to quickly share Gavin's website so that everybody can bookmark it. And, you know, if you want to contact him, this is where he is. Is there anything you want to add on how you prefer people to contact you, Gavin?
So you can contact me here. You can also contact me on Facebook if you like. I've been using that a lot more. So it's my same name, Gavin Masumiya. Fortunately, there's only one of me because my last name is so long and weird that there's only one of me. So if you just write Gavin. Huh?
Is there a meaning to your last name, Masumiya?
Oh, it's so funny. So apparently my last name has two meanings. So what part of the meaning means temple, like a temple, going to a temple. And then the second part is rice bowl measuring cup. It's so random.
So which one do you like?
It's both. I don't know how to put it together. Maybe that's a question. That's a fun creative game for everybody. How do they relate? How does temple and rice bowl measuring cup, how are they similar?
All right. So thank you so much, Gavin, you know, for what you have shared today. I think, as always, when I come to the class, I know that some magic will be there. But I think today what we have here, we have young children tuning in, getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
6 a.m. in the morning.
That's
so
amazing.
We have to give a big hand to whoever have joined in. I think everybody can, take yourself out of mute. We can celebrate the last couple of minutes. Yeah, a big hand to everybody who has participated. I really appreciate our high achievers, little high achiever who are tuning in at 6 a.m.
Wow.
My mother asked me, like, how are you having your class at 6 a.m.? I said, no, high achievers would do it.
That's amazing. And I want to say one more thing to all the kids out there and everyone here too. I just want to say that it was so cool to have all of you share, because this is something that maybe I wouldn't have done when I was your age. I probably just would have been silent and stayed on mute, but all of you just shared. And I want you to know that I thought that they were all great questions that you all asked. It lets me know that you all want to get better, that maybe some of you are scared, and know that that's completely normal. That anytime you have that you think that you're in school and there's a question that you think is stupid, trust me that there are other students in there that are not raising their hand because they also think that it's stupid, and they might be thinking the exact same question. So when you share that stupid question, it actually is the same question that somebody else wanted to say but didn't say. Okay? So I'll encourage you to ask those questions. And if you think it's stupid, you can just raise your hand and say, this might be a stupid question, but, and ask the question. All right?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful way to end our call today. And I really encourage all of you to connect with Gavin, take part in his show, and have that experience of flow. Right?
Yes.
So with that, let's end today's call. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gavin. And I'm sure that we are going to have more workshops because I really feel the power in your work, in the question you asked, with the music. I don't know how Gavin changed all the music in the background, and that really creates, that flow state in connecting with your inner self. So with that, thank you, everyone. To everyone who's watching too, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. And good morning to all of you.
Good morning. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you. That's beautiful.